carnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. Hello, and hope all of you are doing really well today. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'm really excited because today I'm going to show you a new Tunisian stitch. This is the Tunisian brick stitch. It's super duper easy. It works up fast, and I think you guys are really going to like this. Now, even though it has about a 6-row repeat, 4 of those rows are exactly the same. So by and large, you can go on autopilot, which of course is my favorite way of being. Yes. Also, for this particular project, I used, this is a size L, which is an 8mm size crochet hook. You can, of course, use whatever works best for you based on the thickness of your yarn, which today I am using. This is, I love this yarn. And by the way, this video is not sponsored, but I'd like to let you know what it is that I use in case if you want to duplicate the results. And so this is a weight of 4 yarn. Looking for the colorway. Where are you? Ah, there we go. So the colorway of this is linen. And I'm also using the same yarn. And this is the colorway of terracotta, which I thought was appropriate considering, it's a nice sort of rusty brick color. You can, of course, use, again, whatever works best for you. I was actually tempted of going with non-traditional colors and using 2 different colorways that, did a transition like 2 ombres. I think that would look incredible. Just be aware that throughout working up this project, you are going to use up twice as much of the brick color as the grout color, because we're going to have 2 rows of the brick, then 1 row of the grout, 2 rows of the brick, 1 row of the grout. So by proxy, you're going to need twice as much of the yarn for the brick color, whatever it may happen to be. That being said, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Okie dokie, so as per usual, first things first, our base chain. For this particular stitch, you're going to need a multiple of 6 chains plus an additional 5 chains. Right here, I have 3 multiples of 6, which is 18, plus my additional 5. So right here, I have 23 chains. As always, you can make this as wide or as narrow as you want to. Personally, even though I usually say, yes, you could make it into a scarf or a wrap or a baby blanket or what have you. However, because of the nature of this stitch, on the one side, it looks like a gorgeous brickwork pattern. On the other side, it doesn't quite translate the same way. As you can see, it's more stripy, which there's nothing wrong with stripes, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. However, you're not going to get the full effect on the quote-unquote wrong side. So I would say this would make more of a blanket kind of project. Or if you are going to work in the round, then it could be a cowl or a hat. But by and large, I would say this would make an awesome blanket pattern, okay? I just wanted to give you the sort of caveats that come with the stitch. But that being said, make up your chain, again, multiple of 6 plus an additional 5. Also, because this way, if you make up a swatch, you can then determine how many multiples of 6 you would need for the desired width of your project when you, decide to go beyond the swatching phase. Well, that being said, get your base chain ready, and I will see you in a bit. Okay, first things first with row 1. Now, for the sake of simplicity as far as semantics go, I consider the forward pass and the return pass to be 1 row. Okay, whether or not that is construed as, proper for Tunisian, that's what I'm calling it. So now the first row is very, very, very easy once you get over the hump of going into the back bumps of each of your chains. Now, technically, yes, you could go into the top loops of the V. However, to try to mitigate the curling a little bit, I like to go into the back bumps of each of my chains and pull up a loop, go into the next, and pull up a loop, into the back bump, pull up a loop, and so on and so forth. For each back bump of each chain, just pull up a loop. And then we're going to do a normal return pass. We're just doing Tunisian simple stitch at the moment for row 1. And so I'm just going to work my way across. And then when we get into the brick stitches, I called this grout. Well, it's grout, it's mortar, you know, the filling, the Oreo filling in between your bricks is what you're going to start off with. And then rows 2 and 3, we're going to start in with the brick color. And for me, this is always the most fiddly aspect of any project, working into the base chain. But once we start working into the actual stitches, it is going to fly by much quicker. And a word about hook sizes. Now, I said that I'm currently using a size L, which is an 8mm. Usually for this weight of yarn, I would use, like a size I, which is a 5.5, or even a J, which is a 6mm. But because Tunisian has a tendency of being a very dense fabric, I like to go up a size or 2, or even 3, to mitigate the curl. So I'm just going to go into this last back bump. There we are. And so at this point, I should have 23 stitches on my hook. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 23. Perfect. Okay, and then at the end of the forward pass, we're going to do the return pass. So chain up 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and so on and so forth, all the way until we reach the beginning of the row, sans these 2 loops. When we've got 2 loops left, then we're going to change our color. And one of the really neat things that I love about this stitch is that, you don't have to cut the yarn and have lots of ends to sew in. Nope. We're going to carry the unworked yarn up the side of our project. Okay, almost there. Okay, so at this point, I've got 2 loops left, and this is where I'm going to grab my terracotta. There we go. And going to scooch the grout color to the back, grabbing my new color and pulling it through those last 2 loops, and we are all set to go for row 2. Okie dokie. So for rows 2 and for rows 3, going to just work with the brick color, sort of scoot my tails to the back there, and work underneath that vertical bar and pull up a loop, next vertical bar, pull up a loop, and so on and so forth, all the way across. And this is just the Tunisian simple stitch, not doing anything weird or unusual, at least not as of yet. The real magic happens when we come up to the next grout level. So when I said that this is more or less a pattern that you can go on to autopilot with, I wasn't kidding. Okay, we're almost to the end. And one more here, and then at the very, very end here, this last vertical bar, be sure to go underneath both loops at the end there. It creates a much, much cleaner edge. Going underneath both loops at the end there, pull up a loop. There we go. And then chain up one. Like so. Pull out some more yarn as needs be. There we go. Okay, so I chained up one. Now, going to yarn over and pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and so on and so forth until we reach the very end. And then we're going to do row 3, which is the same. Okay, and we don't have to swap colors yet, so pull through the last two. Now, something that I would recommend at this point is to grab the grout color, which I have right here, and we've got the tail of the grout color. Basically, grabbing that and going over our working yarn. And the reason for that is because it will trap the yarn as we continue to work our way up. Now, I think I tangled at my skeins a little bit. Let me just make sure. Okay, we are good. We are good. Okay. So basically, the white yarn, put it over the brick yarn. No, I did. I did tangle up my skeins. It does happen, yes, from time to time. That's all right. But the reason why I'm showing you this, it's sort of like in Fair Isle knitting, what they call capturing the floats. So, all right, I've got my white yarn from underneath. Going to bring it over the top and then scooch it to the back there, so that it's going over. Okay, then going into my next vertical bar. So you can see that my white yarn is going to be trapped. And then I can pull that a little bit taut in the back there. And then just do row 3, working the brick color once again. Okay, the background is getting a little crazy here. Sorry. There we are. Now, technically what I just did, you don't have to do, but I think that it secures the non-working yarn and makes it look a little bit neater on the back of your piece. So it's more of a matter of me erring on the side of paranoia so that the float in the back does not get caught on anything. Okay, working my way to the very edge here. And as always, gotta be sure to have your hook going underneath both loops at the end here. There we go. See, underneath both of those loops there. And pull up a loop. There we are. Then chain up 1 and yarning over, pull through 2, yarning over, pull through 2, and so on and so forth until you have just 2 loops left on your hook, because then we're going to change color again. Okay, need just a little bit more yarn. Okay. Okay, so now I've got 2 loops left. All right, then going to grab my grout color and there we go, pull it through. Then I can cinch my brick color, and with the brick, I'm going to put this over to the side. Okay, I'm having some technical issues here. Please bear with me. There we are. Okay. So now we've got 3 rows, and we are all set to go with row 4. Okay, row 4. Last stitch of the previous row, we swapped over to the grout color. Now we're going to do the grout again, this time also creating the grout lines vertically as well. So we already have 1 stitch on our hook. We need 5, and then we're going to dip down several layers below. So going into the next stitch, by the way, I don't think I mentioned this before, you don't go into this first bar, you go into that second one right there. So we've got 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, the 6th one, we're going to be dipping down in a vertical fashion because we've got this bar, and then we've got this white bar down here. Now, we're going to not just go around this typical vertical bar, we're actually going to grab both legs of that stitch. And there is this little guy on the right here. We're going to grab him as well as the main bar, which is going to give our stitch a little bit more robustness, more stability, if you will. So before we do that, we need to yarn over because we're going to do a double crochet around both of these loops down here. It can be a little bit fiddly, not gonna lie, but you will get the hang of it with practice. I did. So after yarning over, going to scoot down and go underneath this little guy right here. And the normal vertical bar that we go underneath. So underneath both of those legs of that stitch. So going to pull through both of those little loops that we went under, then chain up 1 and then pull through 2. And that gives us the height that we need so that we can traverse across both of these rows that we did previously. Then going to go into the next 5 vertical bars. So pull up a loop, pull up a loop, pull up a loop, pull up a loop, and you guessed it, pull up a loop, so that we now have 5 stitches ready to go. And then we're going to dip down once again. But before I do that, I need some more yarn. Yep, nature of the beast. Okay. So we worked our 5 stitches. Now yarn over and scoot down, down, and down to Goblin Town. Going to go underneath both of those legs there. Like so. And pull up a loop. Chain up 1. Pull through both loops. And we're good to go for another 5 more stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yarn over, scooting down, down, down underneath both bars of this stitch down here. Like so. Yarning over and pulling up a loop. Chain up 1, and then pull through 2. And there you go. And we should have 5 left. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th, which is the last one, again, being sure to go underneath both loops at the edge there, pulling up a loop, and then chain up 1, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and so on and so forth until we have just 2 loops left on our hook so that we can change color yet again for rows 5 and 6. Okay, we've reached the end. So it's at this point, take my white yarn, scoot it to the side, getting my brick color. Okay, so you get to go to the side, grabbing my brick color, pulling it up, and yarning over, pulling through those last 2 stitches with the brick color, and we are all set to go for the next 2 rows. Let's go. Okay, so again, rows 5 and row 6, it's just the brick color. So as per usual, just going underneath that vertical bar, pulling up a loop, all the way across, just pull up your loops, and then do the return pass. And you treat this stitch like any other because we do have a vertical bar there, so you're not doing anything at all differently when you're working, as I refer to it, the brick stitches, so to speak. It's only when you're working the grout that you have to do anything at all different. and then at the end, be sure to go underneath both loops, like so. Pull up a loop, chain up 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and so on and so forth all the way to the end of the return pass. Okay, grab some more yarn. Okay. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I'm not going to do the whole yarn twisty thing, but you know how to do it at this point. You know, it would basically be this yarn. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it. So grabbing this, scooting it around. I'm going to do it because I started, I should finish. There we go. So that white yarn is over the red, going into the next stitch, pull up that loop, and then make the white in the back not tight, but taut. You know, as you can see, the stitches are nice and captured there. Well, the floats at any rate. Okay, so we're off to a nice good start. Get these out of the way. It's distracting. It's distracting. So yeah, these 2 rows are going to work up super duper fast. And then, well, we have another grout row. And like I said, those are really the only rows that you actually need to do any sort of counting or anything at all different. So you can just sort of fly through these nice and quick like. Okay, and then underneath both loops at the very edge there, chain up 1, then yarn over, pull through 2. And going to do that until we have just 2 loops left, and then we're going to change color again. Okay, then grabbing the red, putting it over to the side, and grabbing the white, and pulling the white through the remaining 2 loops, and we are all set to go for the next round. Well, row, round, you know what I mean. Let's go. Okay, this is row 7, the last row of the repeat. Now, row 7, it's a little bit different because our bricks are staggered. So, we already have 1 stitch on our hook here. Grab the next, go underneath that vertical bar. So, we've got 2. Now, if you look down here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these brick stitches? Well, we need to be dead center of those 5, so it's the 3rd stitch that we're going to work our way down. So yarn over, and then scoot down, down, down to this stitch right here. Again, being sure to grab both of those little legs on that stitch. So going underneath you. Come on, behave. There we go. So going underneath both legs of that stitch and pulling my yarn up, chaining up 1, and then pulling through both loops. There we are. And then right now we need the width of a full brick. Right now we're doing half of a brick right here. So right now we need to do a full brick. So from here until just before the end, it's going to be 5 stitches for each brick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yarn over, scoot down, down, down to this stitch right here, going underneath both legs of the stitch right there, yarn over, pull up a loop, chain up 1, pull through 2, there we go, and then another 5 more. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, yarn over, scoot down, 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 going underneath both legs of this stitch down here. There we go. Yarn over, pull through, chain up 1, pull through 2, and we're good to go for another 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we should have 3 left, if I am not entirely mistaken. 1, 2, and the end. So yes. So yarn over, scoot down, 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 go underneath both legs of the stitch. There we are. Yarn over, pull through, chain up 1, pull through both, and then we've got 2 stitches left under the bar, and then underneath both loops at the very, very end there. Pull up a loop, chain up 1, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and so forth until we have just 2 loops left on the hook, because we're going to change color again and go back to the brick color. And it is at this point that we would then start our repeat, which is rows 2 through 7. Okay, so we're all set to change colors. Grabbing the white, scooting it over to the right. Grabbing my brick color here. There we go. And pulling the brick color through those last 2 loops, cinch up the white a little bit, and we are all set to go. So this is what you just keep doing over and over and over again. And so to make things just a wee bit, more flowing for the sake of this video. The next 2 rows I'm going to do in the brick color, which is, nope, I'm getting there. There we are. So rows 2 and 3, I'm going to do off camera, which again, it's just the brick rows that we did, just like we did down here. So I'm going to do the next 2 rows off camera in the brick color, and then I'm going to show you the repeats of row 4 and row 7, because those are the ones that you really need to focus on as far as, any sort of variations or differences. So I'm going to do the next 2 rows off camera, and I'll meet back up with you for row 4. Okay, I will see you in a bit. Okay, so I did the last 2 rows off camera, rows 2 and 3. Row 4 is another grout row, so let's hop to it, shall we? Okay, now keeping in mind, of course, that at the end of row 3, through those last 2 loops, I pulled through the grout color. And so we're going to hop in, and down here, if you remember, we did 5 stitches and then we worked below. If you're ever lost, well, we just did a little brick previously, so now we need a big full brick. So we already have 1. We need 4 more for the total of 5. So underneath that loop, that's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so that is the width of the brick. Then we yarn over and we scoot down, down, down to this stitch, going underneath both legs of that stitch. Get in there, behave. Thank you. And then underneath the other leg, there we go. Sometimes, you just got to fiddle with the stitches a little bit. So then we chain up 1, and then we pull through 2, and there we go. And then we can proceed on with 5 more stitches. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over, scoot down, 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 going underneath both legs of the stitch, like so. Yarning over, pull through, chain up 1, yarn over, pull through those 2, and we're good to go for another 5 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yarn over, scoot down, 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 underneath both legs. Pull up a loop, chain up 1, pull through both. There we are. And then 5 more stitches, the 5th being the end stitch. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then both loops at the ends there. Scoot on through, pull up a loop, chain up 1, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the end until you only have 2 loops left on your hook, because we then get to do another color change, and I will do both of those rows off camera so as not to bore you into oblivion. I like to be thorough but not redundant. As I always say, there is a fine line. But I like spending time with you guys, and I like making sure that you guys understand what it is that I'm doing and why. Not just the how, but the why. Okay, so now at this point, scoot the yarn over to the side, grabbing the brick color. My skeins are flip-flopping all over the place here. Okay, so the white yarn is off to the side there. Grabbing my brick color and going to pull it through my last 2 loops, cinch my white, and then we can proceed on to rows 5 and 6 with the brick color, which, yes, I'm going to do off camera, and then I will meet back up with you for row 7. Okay, I'm going to get to work, you get to work too, and I will see you in a bit. Okay, so I did rows 5 and 6, the brick color, 2 rows off camera. Row 7 is going to be the last of the grout rows that I'm going to show you. Now, as far as ending your piece, I would say either end it on a row 4 or a row 7. It depends on if you want things to be symmetrical or not. Totally up to you. It's kind of arbitrary, but I would recommend ending on a grout row. That's just me and my personal opinion. Take it for what you will. So row 7, we already have 1 loop, and we need to go into the 3rd stitch. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, and 3. So we already have the 1, so go underneath the next bar, and then for the 3rd, yarn over, scoot down, 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 underneath both legs of the stitch. There we go. And pull up a loop, chain up 1, pull through both, and we are all set to go for a full brick. We got our half brick done. So under the next 5 stitches, 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5. Okay, we've got our width here. Yarn over, scoot down, 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 underneath both legs of the next stitch. There we go. Pull up a loop, chain up 1, and then pull through both. Okay, 5 more. 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, yarning over, scoot down, 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 underneath both legs of that next stitch right there. Pull up a loop, chain up 1, pull through both, and we're good for another 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We should have 3 left. We've got 1, 2, and 3. Yep, good. Okay, yarning over, scooting down, going underneath both legs. There we go. Pull up a loop, chain up 1, pull through both, and 2 more stitches to go. Under the bar, underneath both loops. There we are. Pull up a loop, chain up 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the end. And because this is going to be my final row, for the sake of this swatch, I'm going to show you how to do the last finishing row bind off as well. So I'm not going to swap colors, not this time. Nope. And as always, I'm going to put the timestamps in the description box as per usual. In case you want to skip around, that's totally fine by me. I respect that. Okay, so as you can see, we have a decent swatch here, and it really gives you an idea as to how this stitch works, for however long you wish to do it. Well, there you go. Okay, so for those of you that are not familiar with binding off, it's really, really simple, and it creates a much cleaner finished edge than what we have here, which is kind of open. So we're just going to go underneath each bar by pulling up a loop, and then pull through the first loop through the second loop, like so. That's really all there is to it. Go underneath the next bar, pull up a loop, and pull it through that second loop. And just do it a little bit on the loose side, pulling up that first loop a little bit before pulling it through the second, so it reduces the amount of tension on the finished edge. And just go through each one, and it creates a really nice finished look to your piece by binding it off proper. I think I mentioned this before. I had no idea about binding off the Tunisian simple stitch, and I didn't do it for a very long time. And then when I finally discovered it, I'm like, oh, it can look so much better. Yeah, even I am slow to discover good things at times. It happens. I acknowledge that. Okay, just a couple more to go. And another thing that you can do, if you are of a mind to do so, you could go around the circumference of your piece with a couple of rounds of single crochet, increasing at the corners. At the corners, I would say do 3 single crochets at the corners to compensate for the corners. So 3 single crochets in here, and then you could do single crochets 1 stitch per stitch all the way along the edge if you want to have a more finished look to this edge. And I would suggest go in the grout color, because it would really frame it up nice. That's just, again, my personal recommend if you choose to do that. But there you are, the brick stitch. So gorgeous, so easy. Absolutely love it. Alrighty, my dears, so that's going to conclude today's tutorial on the Tunisian brick stitch. Really hope that you liked it, and if you did, please give a little thumbs up button down below. You know that I appreciate your appreciation as always. And in the comments section, let me know, what are you going to do with this stitch? What sort of a project? What sort of yarns? What sort of colorways? Always curious about your creative journey and your process and all that good stuff. Yeah, so let me know. And as always, you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.